2024 NFL QB class has gone off to a hot start in just 2 seasons. And what a great opportunity with the draft combine ahead of us and going on right now. Why not rank the 6 quarterbacks that got drafted in the first round? So if you want to hear more, tune in right after the intro. Tuning in to podcast number 87 of Sports Talk with JWock. I am your host, Jonah Walkenfuss. And before we go into depth about talking about ranking the 6 quarterbacks that got drafted in 2024, I would like to know your input on how I'm doing in this podcast or just on this channel in general. Do you guys like what I'm doing? Do you not like it? I'd love to know your feedback. What am I doing well? What am I not doing well? What can I improve on? I think it's very important to get feedback from my audience to be able to know what I can do better to further make, these episodes more and more interesting for you. So let me know down below. I would love to know your feedback and input, and all feedback is important to me. Not just, even if it's just a little good job or something like that, or you're terrible, But in the meantime, let's talk about the 6 quarterbacks that got drafted in the 2024 class, which some are saying in the future could be one of the best classes of all time for quarterbacks. So there were 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first 12 picks of that year, and we're going to rank all 6 of them. I'm going to start from 6 and build my way up to 1, so you guys can start guessing yourself. I'd also like you guys to give me input on how I thought or on how I ranked these players. Along with, I'd like to know your guys' rankings on these 6 quarterbacks as well, based off of the first 2 seasons. I'm not talking about potential. I'm not talking about, that other stuff. I'm talking about how have they played in just 2 seasons so far. So let's start with number 6, and that is the Vikings quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy only played in this last season, which was the 25-26 season. He was out his whole rookie season due to a knee injury. He played 1 preseason game, and then he got injured right after. So that was definitely not ideal for the Vikings or J.J. McCarthy. It did, but in my opinion, when J.J. McCarthy did play, he did struggle with efficiency. This was his stats for the 25-26 season, where he had 1,632 passing yards with 11 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. He threw for 57.6% completion rate. He also had a 72.6 rating and a 35.6 QBR. He also rushed for 181 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. So clearly by the stats, he definitely did not play well. He also didn't play every game of the season, so to be fair, but having more interceptions than passing touchdowns is definitely not a good thing for J.J. McCarthy. I will cut him a little bit of slack. He didn't have any games that he could play last season due to that injury, so he is still trying to figure out the speed of the NFL. He's also the youngest quarterback in this QB class from the first round at least, and he's still got time to develop, but he better be good in the next coming years, because I think the Vikings are going to start getting a little impatient with McCarthy, especially since the Vikings the year before made the playoffs and had a great season with Sam Darnold under center. So having J.J. McCarthy have to step up is definitely a tough task for him, but he's going to have to be good because this Vikings team is built to make the playoffs. And then you have players like Justin Jefferson, who I think had 2 touchdowns all year, which is unacceptable. So he's going to have to step up big time for this Vikings team, especially since he's got the weapons to do it. He's just got to step up. But I do have him at number 6 because I think that's what most people would rank him at. At number 5, I have Michael Penix Jr. of the Atlanta Falcons. Penix has shown flashes of a strong arm, along with some, winning some big games. There was times where I saw the Falcons won, and Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, all those guys had over 100 yards, it felt like, and Penix was just balling out. It's Penix has some unbelievable weapons on his team. The problem is he's very injury prone. He's had a 3rd from what my notes say, his third ACL tear since 2018. So in just 8 years, 3 ACL tears, that's definitely not a good look for him. That's something that was definitely an issue going into the draft. People were talking about, can he stay healthy because he's had those previous knee injuries and so on and so forth. His stats this year, he had 1,982 passing yards with 9 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions, with a 60.1% completion. Also, he had an 88.47 rating with a 57.9 QBR. He also ran for 70 yards and had 1 rushing touchdown. Michael Penix Jr., in my opinion, was a player that I actually wanted the Broncos to draft because I didn't think there was going to be another quarterback at pick number 12 when the Broncos were drafting, but I'm very happy they didn't get him, by the way. Just kind of a head-scratcher move by the Falcons when they drafted him 2 years ago. I remember there was a video where I think the GM literally had to explain to the owner why he drafted Michael Penix Jr. instead of a player like Jared Verse, who's panned out pretty well for the Rams so far. It's just very interesting to see. It's unfortunate because I think Michael Penix Jr. does have a great arm. The problem is he's just not the most mobile now, especially with that third ACL tear in just 8 years. I mean, that's just tough for him. That's just going to make it a lot harder for mobility. They benched him or I don't know if they benched him or if that injury came in play. I can't remember 100%, but Kirk Cousins came in and they started playing better. So not a great look for Penix, and that's why I have him at number 5. At number 4, I have Jaden Daniels, something that might surprise a lot of people. I think 5 and 6 people were pretty cool with me, but now Jaden Daniels might draw some serious debate. I think Jaden Daniels is a great quarterback. He was a historically good quarterback in his rookie season, looking like a future MVP and Super Bowl contender. But unfortunately, year 2 was just simply not good. I mean, his stats, he had 1,262 passing yards. He had 8 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He had a 44.7 QBR. He ran for 80 yards and had 2 rushing touchdowns. To be fair, he did deal with multiple injuries all season long that kept him out for extended periods of time. I think he'll be bouncing back next year. But if we're just comparing the 2 seasons, the 3 quarterbacks above Jaden Daniels have, in my opinion, surpassed him as far as how they've done in 2 seasons, which we have to keep in mind. So Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, while he's a great quarterback, still has great potential. These injuries adding up is definitely not helping his case, and I think this could be a concern going on into the future. At number 3, this also could be a little bit of a surprise for some of you guys, but I have Caleb Williams. He was the number 1 overall pick, and he started to really progress, especially this year, into being a very good quarterback. The Bears finally can see like they have their franchise quarterback for sure. He led the team to a divisional matchup where they unfortunately lost to the Rams in overtime. Caleb Williams had like one of the most incredible throws to get into overtime to Cole Kmet, but he ended up throwing an interception in overtime. But his stats overall in last season was he had 3,942 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, and he threw that for 58.1% completion. He also had an 85 to 95 rating depending on the source. That's what it said online. I was just kind of doing my research. It was kind of all over the place. He also had a 58.2 QBR. He also ran for 388 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Great season for the Bears and Caleb Williams in general. I think he's, like, for a former number 1 overall pick, I'm going to kind of make him or rank him a little harshly because, in my opinion, I think the 2 quarterbacks above him have been playing better than him, and they were drafted below him. I'm going to rank him a little more harshly because he is the former number 1 overall pick. I'm going to have higher standards for him because he was really looked high and really highly praised as a number 1 overall pick and coming out of college from USC. So I really have to, make Caleb Williams earn this spot. And, come mid-season next season in the 26-27 season, Caleb Williams could very well be number 1 or 2 or whatever. But right now I have him at number 3. I mean, I think he's a great quarterback, but I think the 2 quarterbacks above him have just been better in these first 2 seasons. At number 2, I have Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos. He was actually the last quarterback drafted in the first round, and I think the oldest quarterback out of all of them. He just turned 26, so happy birthday, Bo Nix. But as much as people want to make fun of his age, it's like most quarterbacks can play up to like 35 years old. So it's like, oh, he got drafted at 24, 25, so he could have like 11 to 12 good years of football. In my opinion, I don't see that as a problem. I see that as just fine. Bo Nix turned the Russell Wilson disaster into a 10-7 rookie season after they had a historical cap hit or dead cap hit with releasing Russell Wilson. He turned that into a 10-7 rookie season and followed that with a 14-3 season in the next year, which led the Broncos to being number one in the AFC that season and to the AFC Championship. Unfortunately, he broke his ankle, which kept him out of that game. Who knows what could have happened there, but I'm not going to get in too deep into that. He's also broken records in the first two seasons for passing yards and winning in the first two seasons, and is one of the clutchest players in the NFL. If you guys paid any attention to the Broncos last year, yes, they put themselves in a little bit of a hole going into the fourth quarter for most of the games, but he led them to victories almost every single time, and it was very impressive, to say the least. His stats of the 25-26 season, he threw for 3,931 yards. He also had 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He threw for 63.4% completion. He had an 87.8 passer rating, a 58.5 QBR, and he ran for 356 yards and had 5 rushing touchdowns. Now, some of you guys are like, Jonah, these stats look worse than Caleb Williams as far as a passer goes. And I'm going to say this, I don't care. Bo Nix, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL at this point because so many people are just kind of counting him out, and it's just ridiculous. It's like, how do you go from the Russell Wilson situation, win 10 games his first season, and then 14 games the next season, and just call him just an average quarterback? Oh, he was carried by the defense. Not necessarily. Yes, the defense was great, but at the same time, have you seen Bo Nix's weapons? Sutton, in my opinion, is not a wide receiver one, and he has a great offensive line, but we also saw when Stidham was under center, the line wasn't that good. Why? Because Bo Nix also makes the offensive line look a lot better than they actually are. So I think Bo Nix deserves his credit, and that's why I have him at number 2. So let's get on to number 1. If you don't know who the first place is, I don't really know what to tell you, but it's Drake May from the Patriots. The best QB in the class by far, the second youngest quarterback in this class to get drafted. This season he was in the All-Pro honors. He was an MVP runner-up, and he led the Patriots in the Super Bowl in the first year of starting the whole season. Last year, Jacoby Brissett started a little bit of the season, and Drake May kind of followed through later on. But in my opinion, the fact that Drake May led the Patriots to the Super Bowl the first year he's starting just proves that he is a superstar in the making. They were 4-13 Drake May's first season, by the way. So definitely not good. The Patriots did make some good moves, adding players like Stephon Diggs and then drafting Will Campbell, who had a horrible Super Bowl, by the way. But he turns a 4-13 season his first year into a 14-3 season the next year when May was the full-time starter. His stats for last season, he threw for 4,394 yards. He had 31 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He also threw for 72%, which is the best in the NFL last year. He also had a 113.5 rating, which was also the best in the NFL. He had a 77.1 QBR, which is also first in the NFL. He ran for 450 yards and had 4 rushing touchdowns. The stats, the accomplishments don't lie for Drake May. He deserves to be number 1 in this based off of if we're ranking just the 2024 QB class. Drake May, in my opinion, already is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. You could debate closer to top 5. Some might say, and here's kind of a hot take, and I'd like to know your opinion, I think Drake May is almost at the point to where we can consider him better than Justin Herbert. Maybe I'm crazy, but Drake May's already accomplished more, and it's only been 2 seasons. But anyways, that is going to be my rankings 1 through 6 for the QB class. Let me just rename them so you guys can get a little visual. So at 6, I have McCarthy. 5, I have Penix. 4, I have Jaden Daniels. 3, Caleb Williams. 2, Bo Nix. And number 1, Drake May. In my opinion, this QB class has been historically good, and they've been very good, especially in the win column, turning around some franchises that haven't been good for a while and turning them into championship contending teams. But let me know what you guys think. How well did I do in my rankings? I'd like to know your rankings as well. But that is going to be the end of podcast number 87 of Sports Talk with JWock. It's been a pleasure continuing to do this podcast with you. I'm continuing to grow, and your guys' support has been incredible. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, give me some feedback on how I can improve upon this podcast. Maybe give me an episode idea for next episode, next week for podcast 88. I'd love to know your opinion on that. But anyways, you can always check me out on any social media platform down below in the description. It'll say all those, so you can check me out on that. You also, if you'd like to, you can hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an episode. But I hope you all have an amazing week. God bless.